Hello and Happy New Year. Rob Glass here, and I've put together a little video for you because I need to talk with you about something that we have not had to spend a lot of time talking about over the last year or two, and that is budget. You know, we've been focused on our core mission over the last few years. We've been spending most of our time talking about modern learning. We haven't spent as much time talking about budget, and we've been trying to have our focus in that direction, but the budget information statewide for schools continues to be bad, and for that reason I think it's time we do talk about budget. You know, just like your home, the district has a savings account and a checking account, and we have a modest savings account to occasionally fund some strategic purchases, kind of like the iPads we've purchased, and you know, upgrading the wireless. And the focus of the video today is really not about the savings account, it's really about the checking account. And that's really what we're here to talk about. The operating monies that we receive per pupil from the state every year and that we use to pay salaries and heat buildings and run, you know, programs and so forth. And you know, so as we look at the revenue picture for the state, putting money into our checking account over the next few years, that directly has an impact on our budget and what we forecast that's coming our way. And I have to be honest with you and tell you that over the next few years, things look bad. And I don't think it's going to get any better, so I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This is going to be different, I think, than what we've experienced in the past, where we kind of were able to work some budget magic. I don't think we're going to see any budget magic over the next few years, and I'll go into some of that in just a minute. You know, I also want to stop and just mention that it seems like our integrity as a profession, our whole profession seems to be in question right now by the people who are funding schools. And I think it's really unfair and it doesn't feel good. And I just have to acknowledge that. But here's how we got here in our situation. Since the Great Recession of 2008, our revenues from the state per pupil that we use to run the school district have dropped significantly. In fact, by a total of about $600 per pupil. And that decrease started in 2009-10, and it has continued pretty much that whole time. So over that time, we've seen decreases of around $3 million a year, and that's been going on for several years. So we're down at least $15 million. And at that same time, the amount that the district must pay to the retirement system, MIPSers, has about doubled. So it's put a lot of stress on our budget. And we've planned to spend a little bit of our reserves to keep our programs in place during these fluctuations, hoping and believing that the storm would eventually pass and that as the economy picked back up over the course of our 5-year projection, we would use some of our reserves to get through this tough time and then be back in equilibrium. But as we budgeted for this year, the economy really didn't pick up as we thought. I mean, we thought we were going to, with an election year, a gubernatorial election year, we thought that we'd receive a modest increase in per pupil funding. And, you know, we hoped that the governor's proposal would prevail, but we also were hoping at least for flat enrollment. But a couple things happened that went in the negative direction. The legislature passed a budget that was less than what the governor proposed, and we actually were cut this year a little bit instead of getting any increase at all. And our enrollment, instead of staying flat, decreased by over 100 students, about 115 students. And we knew that some enrollment decreases were coming based on enrollment projections. We just didn't think that we would have that many this year. So, looking at this year's budget, when we planned it last year, we thought we'd be in the red this year, about $2.5 million in our checkbook. It turns out that because of these two things I just mentioned, it's about $3.5 million. And what's worse, it doesn't look like the state revenues coming in this year are good. It looks like the state budget revenues are coming in lower than expected, and that will affect the whole economy, including schools. And so, you know, we're experiencing also distress in the MIPSer system. I don't think our MIPSers retirement costs are going to change and get any better. We're still going to have to pay significant extra amounts into that. So I don't see any indications moving forward that we're going to see any new money. Now, you may have heard that in May there is a proposal to add 1% to the sales tax to go from 6% to 7%, and that those revenues will help roads and that they would help schools as much as maybe $200 per pupil. But I want to caution you that I don't think these are monies that we can bank on. Because first of all, it has to pass the voters in May, and we have no guarantees of that. Second, if we did receive $200 per pupil, that would give us an extra $1 million in the budget, but we're still talking about $2.5 to $3.5 million or more that we have to cover every year. So it won't be the answer. And to make matters worse, we're not sure that we'll even get $200 per pupil because sometimes they don't distribute the funds evenly. Sometimes districts like ours that are a little higher funded receive less than districts outstate that are a little lower funded. So we have no guarantees. So if you've been hearing that, I need to give you the context around it. So here's the thing, our costs are going up, our revenues are going down, and it's really going to start to bite us unless we can get some more revenues from the state. So we're now facing the kind of financial issues that nearly every other school district in Michigan has faced and has been facing a little more severely than we have. It's taken us longer to get here, but it's coming and it's no fun. And I want to again reiterate, we think we did just about everything right to prepare for this. I think you did everything right to prepare for this, and I thank you for that. But unless we make some changes, we're looking at a $3.5 million deficit for this year and about a $4.5 million deficit for next year, and that's significant. It's important to understand that school operating expenses compound from year to year too. So, if we run a deficit this year, the same cost that created that deficit will carry into the start of the next school year and will be added to the increased costs of the following year, and it can get out of control really easily and very fast. And so we can't let that happen. We have to get to work on our budget, and we need to do that now, and we need to do that together. So there's some specific ways we're going to tackle this. First, we have to start taking some short-term measures to reduce this year's budget pressures as much as we possibly can. So we're going to freeze all non-essential spending for the rest of the school year. And, we'll obviously continue with things that are essential to our mission. We're just going to take a critical look at things that might not be essential to do right now. And if it's not essential, we're not going to approve the expense. So we're going to be focusing internally and intently on reducing our energy usage in smart ways while still maintaining a comfortable work environment, things like that. Second, we're going to look years into the future and find ways to reduce expenses or become more efficient while preserving our core mission, our guiding principles, and our cornerstones. And so to this end, we put together a task force consisting of a variety of team members who are generating, as we speak, ideas about how we can do this. So, why am I telling you this? Obviously, not interested in adding stress to your life or anything like that, but I do think that, the winds are shifting a little bit with regard to our revenues, as I've explained. And I know this is difficult, but you deserve to know. You deserve to know what's happening, you deserve to know why it's happening, and you deserve to know what we intend to do about it. And frankly, we need all hands on deck because this is not something that just one person can solve. We solve it best as a team. One way you can help right now is to simply ask yourself what you can do within your sphere of influence, within your sphere of control today to reduce expenses, and then just do it. So it might be as simple as turning off a light every time you leave a room. It's small, but it makes a difference. How about the conference you may have been planning to go to? Is it essential that it be done right now, or might it be deferred? Might there be other expenses that you know of that might be better made at a later time, or maybe not at all? Another way you can help is by sharing your ideas for cost savings, because you might know of a more efficient way of doing something than the way we're currently doing it. You might look around and see something in your daily experience that you know is wasteful, or you now realize is wasteful, and it's a way that we're operating. We can change it, we can fix it. And now's the time to surface that, because that stuff goes on all the time, and sometimes we don't even think of it. Now's the time to start thinking and acting on those things. And so if you've got an idea like that, please share it. Share it with the people around you, with each other, with your immediate supervisor, someone who is in a position to maybe make something happen if it's something you can't control. Since not everybody was able to receive a mini grant this time around, the foundation is willing to offer any ideas submitted on the BHS staff spot $250 mini grant for your idea. We want to do anything we can to incentivize these great ideas. So to kind of wrap this up, I know these conversations are tough. I know I don't like to have them. I don't like to deal with these budget pressures, but they're there. And we haven't talked about it, as I said, for quite some time. But it's really time now that we have to focus on that. We're not going to move away from focusing on our core mission. We're still going to achieve it. We have to be cognizant that we have to deal with these budget issues simultaneously now in ways that we haven't had to, and we have to talk about it in order to solve them. And so they're tough conversations, but the time to act is now. And while this is going to be tough, we can work together, and we can still achieve everything we've set our minds to do for our students. All the good things we're doing, we're not going to sacrifice them. We're going to find ways to accomplish them despite these budget pressures. And I want to thank you for your commitment to helping us with this. Thank you for your commitment to our mission, our vision, our guiding principles, and so forth. And together, by keeping those in the forefront of everything we do, we can take these budget pressures on, and we can still function with a high degree of success and maintain our position as one of the finest school districts in the country. Thank you so very much, and I wish you all a very happy New Year.